Let me turn this off. I forgot how to, actually. There we go. And there is everyone. Welcome, everyone. Let's see. We're going to give it a little bit of time to kind of get everybody up and going. I apologize. We're a little bit late tonight. We're just kind of getting some pictures and things that we can share for what is going to be the Pennsic review of all the battles this year. So we got a great crew of folks with us, our normal coaches, and Earl, Loius, and Sir Bari, and Viscountess Bess, and a special guest, Duchess Kateryn. And the good part is she helped along with she's been out there doing this for a long time and helped along with a lot of the rules and things at Pennsic. So on that note, later on, probably we'll take an intermission break about halfway through, and we're going to talk a little bit about Pennsic and the first week of Coach's Corner there. Last year, we ran a Coach's Corner up there for 4 days, and it really was mostly a couple classes, just the first two classes, and we shot those and displayed those on our site, and then we just had kind of the open fighting going on, and that helped people know that it was going on, so they can come up, and we had great turnouts, so it was very good. This year, we added a number of other classes, and we'll talk about those a little bit. A real quick break, and I'll talk about a couple of classes, a couple of coaches coming out, and what we'll be doing. So, meanwhile, I'm going to throw this one over to Bari to kind of introduce the Pennsic 51 battle scenario.
Hello, everyone. Oh, there we are. Here I am. So I'm kind of in the dark because I turn into what was that movie, Powder, the really white bald guy?
Yeah.
I tend to turn into that because for whatever reason this setting in StreamYard just makes everything bright. So I've got to use my monitor over here, which just shines like a flashlight on me or a spotlight. Yeah. Anyway, so we're coming up on Pennsic 51, which, by the way, the nice thing about COVID is that it set us back 2 years. So now Pennsic is the same age as me. So it's easy for me to remember which Pennsic we're on. So here we are at Pennsic 51. And I think before we go into the first battle, I just want to talk a little bit about what you can expect across the entire war week. So we have the first week we call Peace Week traditionally. There are no war point battles. And as Brannos said earlier, that he's going to talk a little bit about the Coach's Corner stuff that's going to be going on, I think, mostly during Peace Week. And then typically, actually, Bess, you brought this up last year, I think. What is it? Don't they have a meeting with the kings and queens?
Yeah. Isn't it Saturday, the brats and bullshit or something? Brats and beer? Brannos, would you know about that? Kateryn's laughing. She knows. Loius knows about that, apparently. I can see Loius saying something.
I don't think it's brats and bullshit.
I think it's brats and burgers.
And burgers.
Brats and beer. Excuse me. It's not even brats and burgers. It's brats and beer.
Right. Okay. Or now meeting
beer
of the crowns.
Okay. Guillaume is telling us it's beer and brats. Okay.
Yeah. Brats. But okay. Not anymore. It's renamed.
Yeah. Meeting of the crowns.
Meeting of the crowns. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's official.
No.
He said it with like a very serious face too.
He did. So, is there beer and brats at that meeting?
There is.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, so that goes on Saturday. Opening ceremonies that's also Saturday, isn't it?
After that.
It's after that, yeah, and then that kind of kicks off the war week. And so the war week starts on the middle Sunday, which will be Sunday like the 4th, I think. I don't have my calendar on me. It's Sunday the 4th-ish. Anybody in the comments, I'm throwing this stuff out there so that you guys can participate. Please correct us.
Sunday is the 4th.
Sunday.
Okay, Sunday the 4th. Yeah, so typically Sundays, and I just want to kind of give like an overview of all the battles, just like a very broad structure before we get each one. So Sunday, we typically have the champions battles. So there's usually something for the unbelts of the principal kingdoms. There's something for the knights of the principal kingdoms, the belted fighters. There's usually like a tournament that kind of features everyone, and then something for the allied kingdoms. And then we move on to the main war points after that usually involves everybody. And I think it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, we're going to have a major war point for the armored and a major war point for the rapier. And then on Wednesday, we have the siege and combat archery battle. So that's just the general structure. That structure most years follows the same. Every now and then they'll sort of switch around a battle. And historically, we've been having like sort of Wednesday off for most of the fighters. We didn't used to have that, and that's been happening for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years or something like that. I personally usually go to my brother-in-law's house Tuesday night, so I get to sleep in a bed in air conditioning because I don't have to wake up early for battle the next day. He lives in Cranberry. But yeah, I'm going to start off with, hold on, actually, we should probably slide back. I have the Allied Champs. Yes, it looks like the first battle on Sunday is the Armored Allied Champs battle. It's from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. And Brannos, do you have the graphic for that?
Did you actually post the graph? Oh, yeah, there it is. Hold on. And
while he's pulling up what the field looks like, there we go. Yeah, so this is pretty much the field. And so what this is, or first of all, this is for the champions of the Allies. So pretty much it's going to include all of the kingdoms and also some mercenary groups. Like you'll see the two Chucks out there. You'll see the Bog Celts out there. You'll probably see some Cloven Shield and some of the other mercenary groups. And this is typically really the only people that are excluded are the East Kingdom and the Mid Realm. And this is sort of a nice, fun battle for everyone else. So if you're not aware of it, typically you have to be invited in some way, meaning if you're just a random person showing up to Pennsic out of nowhere, you'll probably have to get in touch with one of the kingdoms and say, hey, do you have any room for me to fight in this battle? It's not super exclusive, like you don't have to be a duke or anything, but it's the champions. Typically they try to get the best people they can out there. Some years, depending on how the sides are, they will take anyone. Usually that's for one side, and the other side has nothing but like super. I've been on those before where we've had our butts handed to us. Anyway, it's a 1-hour battle. And it is a capture the flag. So basically they call lay on and both teams come together and they try to, each team has sort of a flag. If you imagine like a soccer field, like your goalpost is back on your side. The other team's trying to get to that flag. You're trying to get to their flag. And I believe last year the rule was that you had to have both flags. So there's a couple times where both teams managed to grab the flags at the same time, ran them back to their goal, and they both thought they had won. And then the marshals had to say, like, no, you need to have both flags. So you have to have your flag and then bring the other team's flag to you. And a lot of times with the rules, this one is 100 combatants from each side. Some years it's smaller. Some years it's as small as 60. This one has 100, so it's going to be a little bit larger. One of the keys to this year is they call it soccer substitutions, meaning that if you get tired and you need to take a break, you tag out and you're done. You don't get to come back in.
Well, that's kind of cool.
It makes it interesting,
Yeah, and it's just like soccer, really. I mean, if you tag out, you're done. So
yeah,
you really have to think
especially with 100 combatants, there's not going to be a whole lot of people sitting to tag back in. So a lot of times when they have this, what ends up happening is by the end of the battle, one team just exhausts. They start fighting with less than 100 people. Bless you, by the way. So you might end up with like 80 on 90 at the end of the battle or something like that.
And then the
battle to watch.
release is on the res box too.
What's that? Oh yes,
Time
the release. Yeah, time release. So what happens is when you die, you go back to a res box, and every 3 minutes they usually blow a horn, and it kind of releases out the box. So if you're watching the battle, a lot of times what happens is you'll see maybe one side gets really close to getting the flag. On the other side, you'll see the whole battlefront creep up toward there, and then this horn will blow, and then all the people run out of their box, and that usually kind of resets the battle back in the middle. I've always enjoyed this one. Ever since I got knighted, I've not been allowed to fight in it anymore because I'm in fealty to the east. But I do I'll go up and marshal it. It's just a really fun battle. So that's it in a nutshell. There's a whole lot of specific rules on there, but they will cover those. We got to get through all this stuff here. Any questions from our panel here?
Any comments? So I got a question, I guess.
Sure.
All right, I'm gonna kill this page for a second. So the question I have is, does the fencing group have something like this too, or no?
Brannos, you're jumping ahead.
Oh, well, I'm just asking. I wasn't sure if I've ever seen the fencing version of this. First time, really, it's near. I've only seen this one a couple of times, so I hadn't seen the fencing one.
Well, we do have
33, Brannos.
You require that's paper requires me to read.
I sent it to you.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump ahead. I already jumped ahead, so go
for it.
Announce what battle.
Okay, well, actually, I have a question about this one. So the
Okay.
Rapier battle, and Kateryn, maybe you can answer this one. So the Allied Champions is worth 2 points. So when you get this, you can either get a PDF like I did and print it, but I believe you can get it from the Pennsic book, or it's very likely online like it was last year. So the Allied Champions is 60 minutes, and it's worth 2 points. The Rapier battle is, and this is weird to me, it's worth 3 points, and it's fought in what they call 3 heats. The first heat is 15 versus 15 East and Mid Realm. Heat 2 is 15 versus 15 the Allied Kingdoms. And Heat 3 is 30 versus 30, which is the other 2 heats combined. Why? And I've noticed this throughout the description of the battles. It seems like the Rapier battles are shorter than the heavier battles, and in this case, it's worth 3 points. Is it because there's 3 heats or something? Like, I'm just curious about that.
So I will say that for Rapier, we are more we like and love melee, but we tend to be a little bit more singles oriented, dueling and I don't know if tourney is quite the right word, but we tend to be a little bit more into the fight, and so we do like melee, we love melee, but we don't necessarily put as much into melee as the armored community does.
Okay, I was feeling worried that the Rapier
and we don't.
Short-changed.
Well, if you look at the heroics, we do have more fighters in the heroics battle than armored.
It's true, and I was going to ask,
which kind of offsets it a little. Yeah, which offsets it a little. But we also are not quite as a large community, and as the armored community, and we just.
That's okay, so long as you guys aren't being like pushed to one side or something. Or if you're like, we're not really grooving on melees and we're not as big, so our battles.
I mean, we still love melee, but I think if you look at our other, like I think the other champions battles are still only worth 1 point. Like the belted champs is still worth 1 point. The unbelted champs is still worth 1 point. So that is consistent.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think the armored has a total of 5 points across the day. Rapier has a total of 4 points across the day.
So, Louis, you were working, and Kateryn, I'm sure you were war queen at one point. Why aren't battles just 1 point? Why are like some 5 and this is 3? Sorry, I totally take derailing this. I know that, but why aren't they all just 1?
I can tell you.
Okay, then you tell me.
Because I'm going to tell you, when I was general one time, I went to the Kings and I said, you have 1,200 people participating. Here, let me get myself on camera. You have 1,200 people participating in a battle compared to a heroics with 15 people at the time. Why should 15 people be the same point as 1,200 people?
Because it's one battle.
No, that's yeah. Well, really, let's focus on the people and not the battle.
No, okay, that makes sense. Okay, I was just curious when I'm looking at this. I'm going, I can't figure this out.
No.
But
No, that's a lot of reasons. It's focused on the people and not so much the battles. So,
Okay.
Kateryn, here's a question for you on that. Is one good thing about 15 on 15 is it also allows you for much better control in those scenarios, especially in this scenario. You guys still going to be running banners because running in fencing is edgy, isn't it?
We aren't supposed to run into engagement. We can run to engagement and then engage, but we don't run into engagement. So we aren't doing banners. We are doing to the last person.
Okay.
So
that makes more sense.
It's like the other melees. So
yeah, I was concerned that if you're running a banner that, obviously that runner could, people are going to try to stop them and could run into something. So that's why I was asking that question.
Which you will note that's in the woods battle. We eliminated that portion of the woods battle. We said no on that one.
Okay.
It's
all right.
Like, hey, you can do this, and I said no, we can't.
No, you can't. So I guess that's a good thing to make sure that everybody understands, right? That the idea of you can run from one point to one point, but not into engagement.
Right. Just because, we are still fighting with real swords.
Yeah.
Granted, they have, a blended tip on the end, but,
still steel.
Really, it's real steel, and it's, this small surface area, and you put, however hundreds of pounds of pressure behind it times, that velocity thing. And yeah, that can hurt a lot.
Yep. All right. No, it's great. Thanks for helping me understand and the whole idea on the 15 on 15s make really kind of what you're doing is champions battles, right? Except we added the allies have their own of 15, and that's the way to points, one each.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
Barry, what's next?
Over the years, the points, if you look back to, Pennsic 10, 20, 30, the number of points has been increasing over the years. Now we're somewhere in the range, the 50, 60 points. Mm-hmm. I don't know what this year's total was, but I know last year we were really close to 50, or if maybe we hit that target. But 20 years ago, it was only 20, 25, 30 points, something like that. So, but there's a lot more stuff. We're trying to get more people involved, and we also have service points and all kinds of other things now. So trying to get everybody's interest in the things that they enjoy.
And I think it also takes a little pressure off of winning, which I think is a lot of other kingdoms do.
If I ever become king of Pennsic, I'm going to negotiate for everything worth at least 1,000 points.
Perfect.
And then whoever wins that Pennsic will have the record for the most points ever scored.
That's a great idea too. That two things done, and
the loser will be in second place. They'll have the second most points ever, provided they win at least one battle. So let's get through Sunday again. So we covered Allied Champs at 11, and then we have at 11:30. That's actually strange. I'm sorry, Allied Champs is 10 to 11. And then at 11:30, we have the unbelted champs. And actually, I'll talk about this, and then maybe if maybe Louis can pick up the belted champs and talk about that a little bit. But for the Allied champs, for the unbelted champions. God, all these battles confuse me. For the unbelted champions, it says unbelted champions plus alternates, and I'll explain what that is. It's 1 point for the champions and 0 points for alternates. So again, if you're not familiar, if you're from the mid or the east, you're probably familiar with this battle. But if you're not, maybe you're coming to Pennsic for the first time, or maybe you've been a couple of years, you knew that the battles went on, but you didn't really know what was going on. Both the mid realm and the East Kingdom individually pick an unbelted champion team. So this is everyone who's not a knight or a master of arms. They try to pick their best. In this case, it would be 35 fighters, best 35 unbelted fighters. And there's a battle between the two of them. And it's usually a very short battle, not much more than a minute. Some years it's under a minute. It's lay on, they run across the field, and there's a whole lot of swinging and there's some cheering. And then at some point you realize there's either a whole lot of white and red left, or there's a whole lot of blue, yellow, and purple left. It's a nice, fun, exciting battle. And then we also have this alternates. And I want to say that one of the kings we've had here doesn't like the phrase alternates because he believes that everyone on the team is a champion. It's just that you have more than 35 in case you have people that have an injury at the last minute or an armor failure they can't make on the team. So you have enough people to fill in the spots. But they started an alternates battle several years ago because it's kind of disappointing to get up there, especially if you're a hungry unbelt fighter and you stand there and you cheer and you put your armor on and then you don't get to fight. And so typically they'll have a battle for all the people that were on the teams that didn't get to fight in the main battle. Often it's about 10 on 10. And what's nice about that is that usually a couple people get bumped up to the main team again, because somebody got injured or just couldn't make it for whatever reason, or they drank too much the night before. So maybe one side will have 7, the other side might have 6, and then they'll just usually kind of fill in whoever's there that maybe wasn't even invited on the team at all to say like, hey, do you want to go do this? So that's what the alternates team is. So again, it's a single death field battle, and it's over pretty quickly. And then any questions on that? Or are we good? Can we move on to the belted?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Louis, I'm assuming you're pretty familiar with the belted champs.
Yeah. So we're going to have just one battle with the belted champs this year, and it will be 25 versus 25, last combatant standing. Nice, fast battle, and typically there's usually no spears, just because that's hard to do in a battle like that. And it's a very quick, high intensity battle with the kingdom's, best chivalry on the field.
So Louis, I've just got a little question for you. I'm looking at the rules here for the champions, and they say, it's last combatant standing. It doesn't say no spears. Is that just a convention, like just one of those things, or is it?
You can come out with 25 spears, but you're not going to do so great.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's like not a sensible thing to do, but it's not banned. It's not a banned weapon, is what I'm getting at.
It's completely allowed.
Okay.
Hey, we have a question real quick. And that is, do the unbelts have to try out for the team and then might not make the team? Or how do you become an unbelt? That's a great question.
You want to go mid-round? Mid-round, want to cover that first? And
Louis, you want to cover mid-round first?
So we hold a number of practices where we focus on that, and it starts early in the season and indoors, and it's open to everybody. They try to keep it a welcoming environment. When I was coming up as an unbelt, before I got involved in it, it seemed like a very high intensity thing, and you should be very careful if you want to get involved in that, because it's a vicious battle. And then I did the unbelts for a number of years, and but there's a number of practices, and then by the end of the year, hopefully we have a lot more people that are able to fight in it, that want to be part of that practice community, and it helps us out with the melee practices as well.
Yep. Barry?
So in the East Kingdom, and again, for everyone listening, I actually saw Antigone had asked this question. And as big as Texas is, it's not as big as the East Kingdom or the Mid-Realm. These are very, very large kingdoms, both in terms of numbers and geography. So in recent years, I'd say probably the last 7 or 8 years at least, there's no tryout specifically. But typically what happens is that the captain is selected by either the royals, or typically the royals will appoint a warlord, and it might be the warlord who selects the captain. But either way, there's a captain who's determined. And then typically the captain will select some co-captains for the team from different regions. And then, ideally the captain, it's a hard job. The captain travels around to all the different regions within the kingdom and basically takes note of all the melee fighters. Captain's usually pretty experienced, so they probably know all of the people. They probably have a pretty good idea in their mind of about 70% of the team anyway. It's filling in that last 30%. And then they let people know, hey, I'm going to be there, and people understand that this is your chance to shine. And then basically the captain selects the team, makes an announcement, selects the team, selects the alternates, so everyone knows. And it's always hard. It's particularly for some of those 5 spots. I'll tell you personally, I thought I was a shoe-in for the team the last year that I fought, and I had an injury that year, and the captain didn't know me very well. And we didn't really cross paths that year, and I thought I was doing a great job. I ended up on the alternate team, and then after the alternates was done, they announced I was getting elevated. So it's, I ended up getting knighted that same Pennsic. So you never know. Like I said, it's no fault to them. It's a tough job. It's tough to pick 35 people and get all 35 people happy. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I will say in the past, there's been more involvement from the Royals in who they want on the team. But in most recent years, they've put it more as like an unbelt job. They pick the captain and more or less let the captain kind of, run the show. So that's it in a nutshell.
Wait, I have a question for Kateryn. Sorry. So I'm looking at the rules for your melee. Do you have any? So we've seen that with the heavier fighters, there's a belted and an unbelted. So I was looking at your rapier, and I acknowledge that you're not a big melee community. You don't have any restrictions on who can fight in your melee, your rapier melee, like if they're mods or if they're not mods, or if they're royalty, sitting royalty, anything like that. I don't see it here, which is why I'm asking.
We do not. Making sure that we have 15 melee-oriented combatants is, I think, more important. And if we had, we've talked about in the past having like a mod team and a unmodded team. But yeah, but uncollared, I guess,
Okay.
team, but making sure that we had 15 mods and then 15 non-mods to field would, I think, be kind of difficult, because that's 30 rapier fighters, and then having heroics on top of that, and having to field fighters for heroics, it's gonna prove a little bit difficult, I think. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think maybe in a few years we may be able to grow and be able to have enough active mods in order to field 2 teams, but not yet.
Reasonable. Okay.
If you fought in the rapier melee, are you able to fight in the heroics?
Oh, hold on.
So there is the thing about double dipping, and it says that no more than 3 armored and 3 rapier individuals from the East and Middle will participate in more than one activity within the same discipline. So 3 of them can cross over.
Oh.
But that would be it.
Okay. Interesting.
All right.
Yep.
Last one is the heroics.
Are we on to the heroics?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on to heroics.
All right. Lead off the heroics, buddy.
I'll go with heroics. Yes, this is. I used to not care about singles at all. I'll be honest. It just wasn't interest to me. Pennsic was all about melee. And I don't know, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, I happened to catch a heroics battle, and I just walked up there. And I'm an extroverted people. I know a a lot of people, and I was like, "Oh, this is a neat fight. I know that guy is a count from Atlantia, and that other guy is my friend who's at our local practice, who's a count from the East Kingdom. This ought to be an interesting fight. They're about the same age, or whatever." And yeah, it sort of captured me. And what the heroics battle is, I'll give you my perspective on it, and then those of you that have a little bit more, I'm sure, I know Brannos has done these. In fact, one of the highest rated SCA dueling videos on YouTube is actually Brannos fighting at the heroics battle at Pennsic.
That's right, losing.
I think you won. I think you're being too nice. I think that leg shot was actually good.
Hey, I won because I got to play with a friend and have a great battle with a fight with him.
Yeah, well, it was a great display of chivalry too. It was really good watching the two of you fight. But yeah, in a nutshell, what it is you get these great matchups from these sort of legendary fighters from different kingdoms, and sometimes some up and coming. There's a whole real quick. So it is armored and rapier, and what I guess the format is that it's a bunch of duels, and it's just everyone fights once. There's no like advancing to the next round or anything. And I guess whoever wins ends up getting a point for that battle, and then at the end of the battle, whichever side gets the most points. What's that? Whichever team gets the most points ends up winning. It is it's for the East or the Mid, but the fighters are from everywhere. The fighters are from the East or from the Mid, they're from all the allies. They can bring in whomever they can bring in whomever, and they try to make up some really interesting matchups. There's a lot of dukes involved. There's a lot of legendary, expert duelers. But they also go for a variety of weapon styles. They'll bring in some baby knights. They have a baby knight is someone that got knighted within the first couple of years, maybe a year or two ago. And these are usually they're not as good as your dukes typically, but they're still great fighters. And yeah, it's like, it sounds like they really try to make just a lot of really good, interesting matchups while also trying to win the day. Sometimes you'll see like the Queen's champion of Rapier versus from each kingdom, or the King's champion of Rapier, or what have you. And at the end of the battle, it's whichever side gets the most points. Oh, there's also like they'll do like one side will call out a fighter. Here we're going to bring out Count Louis for our side, and then the other side says we answer with, oh, who do we think can beat him? And they'll bring a guy out there, or who's going to look like a really good matchup against him. So that's my perspective in a nutshell. I know that there's some experience that you guys have. If you want to add something to it, looks like it's 15 armored fighters and 18 rapier fighters to give me an idea of how many, I guess, from each side. So that means it'll be 33 total duels. It'll probably last a couple hours.
Hey, Louis, do you know the numbers of each people able to participate? Usually there's a certain number from the Mid, certain number from the East, and then the rest are made up of allies?
I don't know what that number is. I think for armored, it was something like 7 had to come from the principal kingdom, but I'm not 100% on that.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not 100%. I'll have to look that one up. But that is normally,
it's not in the rule set.
Okay.
So that was excluded.
I'm pretty sure it was
Go ahead.
No,
I'm pretty sure it was part of negotiations too. Was if you want to fight for us, we have X many spots available on this. So
yeah, I just don't know if it made the book. So.
No, it's not in the book.
Okay.
I have a question. It starts off when they're talking about the heroics in the manual. It starts off, and I don't know if this is new. The first bout will be a non-scoring fight between the Eastern heir and the Middle heir. So the princes are fighting to determine if the East or the Middle will call the first armored fight. Is that new?
Yeah, that's new. I really like it.
Okay, so that is new. I think that's kind of cool. And it's not a point. It's just who gets to go first.
Last year it was a coin toss.
Okay. So, Kate, I have a question for you. Sorry.
Why are you picking on her?
Because she knows stuff. So when we talk about the armored fighters, they say, okay, 15 armored, the crowns can't fight, blah, blah. But then they say about the rapiers, something that they don't say under the fighting, and they say the pairings will be arranged on Saturday at the meeting of the crowns. Has that always been the case? I thought I thought it was answered on the
Yeah,
day.
that is normally the case. Normally, the two folks who have been working on, and the generals normally sit in, who have been working on figuring out who our champions are for Pennsic, will sit down and prearrange the Pokemon battle. They will be like, oh, this fight will be really great with this fight, and then like I think we have at least two bouts of cut and thrust, so we already know who our cut and thrust fighters are. So it's like, well, they will obviously pair up, and you know, and we it's normally common that the rapier fighters will be like, oh, well, I've seen the list from the East Kingdom and I've seen the list from the Middle Kingdom. I call dibs on fighting this person, or I call dibs on fighting this person, because normally the king's champion will fight the king's champion, the queen's champion will fight the queen's champion. Those are normally the first two bouts, and then after that it's just they call who's next, and sometimes it will change. Last year a couple of the fights changed, but just because a couple of the people were unable to fight, and then it's just like, wait, that's not who I was going to fight. But yeah, but for the most part they will know the pairings Saturday.
Yeah,
so that's cool, because we don't do that, right, Brannos, Louis? Nope, we don't do that with heavy fighters, right?
No, in fact, we'll sometimes have people sit around the list that aren't even fighting in armor and make it so that nobody understands who's actually going to come up next.
Okay, that's cool. That's just an interesting little differentiation between the rapier and the heavy fighters. That's a cool little thing.
Yep.
More like a live chess match for the armored.
Pretty much.
Interesting.
All right. Are we moving on, Barry?
We are moving on. Let's go to Monday. We're about halfway through the show. We're only through Sunday. What's up?
Yeah. I'd like to interject. So Saturday or Sunday, when they're fighting, it's an open field. The battles will be open. But of course, the rest of the battles need hay bales. And there are, as I understand it, 650 hay bales this year. And we need people to move them. If every fighter moved a hay bale or carried a hay bale from here to there, the hay bales would be set up quickly. We wouldn't have to wait for them on Monday morning or Tuesday morning as we're setting up. So please, as you're leaving for the champions battle, I know last year we were setting up hay bales at the end of the champions for the next day. And certainly at the end of the day, people are moving hay bales around. The mods or the rapier fighters and the heavy fighters don't always use the same field. But the rapier fighters come after us, and it would be nice if people could help them because they always move the hay bales for us. It would be nice that if we could all participate and move hay bales. Thank you for coming to my hay bale TED Talk.
So I'm not sure how it works in the mid realm, but I know for a fact in the East that the more hay bales the unbelts move, the more likely it is that they get knighted in the near future.
Yes.
Oh, man, that'd get hay bales moved.
It's like that in Eldemir too, the Night's Watch.
Well, I'll be watching the Mid-Realmers, I guess, this year. Here we go.
We have
the legend for us is if our unbelts go to 100 minutes war, that helps.
I don't know. It seemed to work for Sive. Yeah.
All right.
No, I know one year I think Duke Tyndall was saying, and I think he might have still been in Ethelmark at the time, but he said it's something about some hay bales need to be moved, and he ran out there and he moved a hay bale, and everybody's like,
yeah.
You're the king. I mean, don't you have other people to do that? He goes, when you're the king, you move one hay bale. And then he goes, by the time you get to the second hay bale, he's like, they're already done because everyone just saw the king go out there and move a hay bale.
That is the truth.
Yeah. So, all right. So real quick, let's, this is an interesting one. Okay. So for those that are familiar with Pennsic, historically, Pennsic has had for the armored side, which is a little bit older than the rapier side, actually significantly older than the rapier side. But for the armored side, it's typically, we've always had bridge battles. We've always had field battles. We've always had woods battles. And then on the fourth day, not necessarily the fourth in chronological order, we would have sort of an experimental, different kind of battle that year. this is the first Pennsic in my memory that we did not have a bridge battle.
No, it's one of the original 3, and I don't know why, but we're not having it this year.
I can't tell that if you're angry or not. You should
Well,
tell us.
I've got my poker face on. I don't know why. I mean, like, I really enjoy it. It's not the 90 minutes sit on the hill like it used to be. We had, the short battles. You go in, you fight, you come off. No res. Everything you did counted. It was so much fun. And this year, I'm a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie.
All right, back to you, Barry.
Well, we'll talk about that. So I will say, so one of the things I like this year is that, so this year we're doing the, on Monday, it's going to be the Armored Town and Cathedral Battle. And if you've got that graphic, Brannos, if you can put that up, please. The Armored Town and Cathedral Battle is going to be on Monday at 10 o'clock. It's 7 war points. It's an hour-long, unlimited resurrection battle. We did almost this identical battle 2 years ago at Pennsic. Pennsic 49, and it worked out pretty well, I think. And so one of the things I do like about it this year, to best, is that a lot of years that 4th battle is really different every year, and some years they're amazing, and some years they're kind of a dud. And this year we have 2 odd battles, but this is one that we did 2 years ago that was actually a pretty good battle. And so what it is you have if you look at the screen there, there's a whole lot of little measurements and stuff like that. This will be kind of condensed down in the middle of the battlefield. So it's not going to be as big as the field battles. But we have, it looks like 7 huts. 2 of them are sort of turned sideways. 4 of them are kind of vertical. And within each hut, you're trying to capture it. And I believe there's going to be a flag that you sort of flip one way or the other way. Yep. And I've not read through this.
It's a baton.
Yes. Yeah, like a baton with a color on one end.
It's a baton you have to hold in the air.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Yes, you have to hold it in the air. And I do believe that this one is going to be, they're going to be timing how long you have the baton for your side. Which is a little harder to do, but the nice thing about it is that everyone fights the whole time, because every time you have it, you're racking up time for yourself, versus the old, like, oh, every 20 minutes we'll take a point. Then you have the first 15 minutes, maybe people aren't really fighting or they're holding back. And then in the middle, they have a cathedral, which is just basically a little bit of a different shape. It's got sort of a cross pattern where you can kind of come in through the front and back and through the sides. It's an unlimited resurrection battle. It's 60 minutes. The thing I really like about this battle is there's something for everyone. If you love, we call it playing punch face, just running in there and pushing people around and throwing people over hay bales and shoving the line forward, there's places to do that. If you'd rather have sort of a stretched out long line, like lots of spear dueling, there's places to do that. There's an interesting dynamic in this battle. If you look at the
combat archery and siege in this battle, so keep your eyes open for combat archery and siege.
Yes, exactly. One of my good friends had a lot of questions. She's in Atlanta, Northern Army Commander in Atlanta, had a lot of questions about this. And apparently they did some tests in there. They're like, are you allowed to throw the flag out of the building? And I was like,
no.
I'm pretty sure, just assume that you're not allowed to throw the flag out of the building.
No, in fact, it's very specific. If you're not allowed to throw it out, a baton, it's in a 6-foot box, and a baton.
8 foot.
Well, this says 6 foot in here.
It's 6 foot for the it's 6 foot for armored.
Yeah, for us it's 6. So it says a baton flung outside the 6-foot box stops both stopwatches. And they say both because there will be an Eastern and a mid-martial doing the timing. And then a local hold will be called to replace it, and then they reset it again. So yeah, don't throw it outside the box because you just wreck the fun for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the gist at the end of the day. I mean, people don't try to game the system and figure out like, oh, if we go in there, we keep throwing it out, they keep calling hold or something like that. Like, again, winning's not that important. Just try to stick to the spirit of the battle.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. And then I guess we can, unless there's not any questions, we can pass it on to I already forgot. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on.
Kateryn knows, or I
Kateryn.
open.
Duchess Kateryn, yes, for the Rapier Town Cathedral Battle, Monday at 1:00.
Pulling it up now,
So
so you don't have to
Oh my God, there's like an infinite loop of.
It is.
That's too many of me.
There we go. Let me zoom this
Yep.
in a little.
yeah, so our battle is almost exactly the same, except we have the spear zone on the. I always have to orient myself because the maps are weird. So if the bottom is north, so that's on the east side. The east side is the spear zone. We have two of the buildings are on the outside are gone, and then two of the other buildings are shifted 90 degrees. So we don't have them in line, but again, and you can't really see anything on this map, but it is exactly the same. That you have lots of areas to do kill pockets and use your spear. There's no RBGs. We can have the batons. We've been practicing this some. It should be fun. Lots of doorways, lots and lots of doorways.
Yeah, I found that, you know, I don't know if I know in the heavy battles we've fought in a lot of stuff with doorways, and I've seen battles go where it's like, hey, these turn out great, or, you know, essentially the good part is that holding the baton thing, I think, keeps this battle running.
Yeah.
Because I've seen where it's like you had to get to something and those battles lasted 30 seconds, you know, and
Yeah.
I think the baton piece here is going to make sure that these stay a constant battle.
And I like the fact that it's a combined time. It's not, you know, oh, we're going to rush the flag here at this point and rush the flag at this point.
Right.
It's going to be constant fighting. So
how long is this battle again?
1 hour.
So
well, we're 60, but
yeah, we are 60 minutes and we get a 30-minute break in
between.
Describe it. The manual
Yeah.
describes the Rapier is run in 2 30-minute battles with a 15-minute break and rest, unlimited red. So it sounds like it's. Well, that's a good point, Kateryn. Is it 2 actual battles for a Rapier, or is it 1 battle with an intermission?
It's 1 battle with an intermission.
Okay. Louis had made the comment about like be nice to the baton holders, but more than that, you should know that if the baton holder dies, the baton will be dropped to the ground. Okay, but if the baton is on the ground, it stops the clock. So yeah, be nice to them, and it's, you know, not terrific. You're losing time if someone's on the ground, or if the baton is on the ground. So that's all. Okay.
Sorry about that. All right. Okay, are we done with this one?
Yeah, and I think ours specifically says that the baton is flung outside of the box. Both stopwatches are stopped and a hold is called to replace the baton and reset the combatants to outside the box. So I don't know how yours works. So there you go.
I'm going to guess it's pretty close to that.
Yeah.
All right, Barry, what's next?
When next? Tuesday, 10 a.m. again for Tuesday Armored Hidden Fortress Battle. If you have the graphic, please pull that one up. And to people asking, well, what happened to the bridge battle this year? As soon as I heard there was no bridge battle, I said, okay.
So upset.
Well, I said, okay, so there's no bridge battle this year. Does that mean there's a goat path battle or a hot gate or a canyon battle or a cliff battle? I knew there's going to be something that kind of modeled a bridge battle. And I think this one's probably the closest thing to a bridge battle that they're going to have this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of bridges here.
This one's going to be interesting. It is, and this is one of those things. This could be the most fun you've ever had, or it could not. We'll find out.
We take longer to set up these hay bales than to actually run the battle.
Yeah. Yes. So unbelt's looking to get knighted. Remember, the more hay bales you move.
Hey, Louis, how many hay bales is it going to take?
More than 600.
So anyway, and oh God, I've read through this a couple times, and I have confidence that they understand what's going on here. But there is basically, I believe it's one flag in the middle is the control point, right?
There's 5.
Are there
There's 5 flags.
Five batons, and they're in the 5 8x8 boxes. And we've got these laneways. We are waiting for clarification if the outside of the field of hay bales, if you're able to walk around that or not. I think that is edge of world. And so you've got these large 27-foot wide lanes in the middle, and then you've got these narrow paths on the sides, and the narrow paths will lead into the larger paths, but it's unidirectional. You can only go inwards. You cannot go out.
That's what those arrows are for, all right?
Correct. And it's a limitation on weapon size in there. I think it's 6 foot or less.
Yeah. So what they say is no weapon over 6 feet long may be used on the cliff goat path. Is there?
Yeah, you're jumping off a hill.
Where is so we're just calling like the cliff goat path. They're both cliffs.
So these little paths, like on the side here where I'm you see this, all this area, that's the cliff. Okay. And these are the paths. Pretend you're coming down the cliff, and these are the paths that are open coming down the cliff.
Okay, and then they say 9-foot weapons may target and reach onto the path, but may not enter the path.
So you can't go in your feet.
Yeah, basically, if you have a 9-foot spear, if you have anything over 6 feet, you cannot walk onto those 6-foot lanes.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Shield.
If it's 6 foot wide, then that's the most you can take your weapon in. See, that makes things easier for me. The other thing they say is the goat paths may not be scaled up away from the buildings, but when I look at this, they seem to run perpendicular or parallel to the buildings. So I'm not sure what that means. It says away from the buildings, but may be descended down towards it.
This is you can
follow the arrows.
You can only go this way.
There are one-way paths in.
Yes.
Great.
Got it. Okay.
Otherwise, the police will give you a ticket.
Although in metric, we can also go the other way. Got it. Okay, that makes better sense. Okay.
So, yeah, I'm imagining almost like this is like a gully, right? If you're on the
this is a gully.
Right. Okay, that makes good sense.
You can sort of, even though it's not physically a gully, that's sort of what they're trying to represent here. So you can basically move toward the town center, let's call that, but you can't move away from it. And yeah, I see these little tiny 8x8 boxes now that Louis was talking about. So there's an 8x8 box inside of that sort of central kind of, that thing. And then it looks like you've got 4 others that are kind of like
staggered.
1 closer to each res point, and then 2 are kind of in the middle. I think this will be a battle.
Point?
What's that?
So how long is this battle?
It's unlimited res.
1 hour.
1 hour, yes.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, we have 2 res battles back to back, or not back to back, but day to day. So that's a good start.
Yeah, actually,
for combat archery and siege.
Yeah, and for armored, it's going to be everything's a res battle except for Friday, which is the field battles.
Okay.
So.
Well, that makes good sense.
All right, I'm not going to ask if there's any questions on this because we could run out the last half hour. I think we should just probably move on to the Rapier Fortress.
Let me pull up the Rapier Fortress to see if it looks any different.
I think it's the exact same.
It should be the exact same.
The only difference is it says Rapier at the top.
So So I have questions
right.
for you about this one. Under the additional, it says RBG rules is agreed. Holds are local, but then it says, do local holds stop the stopwatches or any batons in their area? It looks like people didn't take notes out, so I'm not certain about this. So yes, it does. Okay.
Yes.
It says
that is exactly.
If the baton is dropped under a dead fighter, rapier fighter, hold will be called to take out the dead. It says not applicable to rapier. So
we don't die. We don't die on the ground.
Okay.
We die out.
Okay.
So
okay. Got it. And for those of
they left in a lot of. They left in a lot of arguments.
It's clear. I was just going through this. I'm like, I'm not certain. And this is one of the rapier battles with no spears.
Correct. We did not. We talked about limiting spears, like the spear length, because of the 6-foot goat paths, and they're like, oh well, we'll just ignore spears. We're just not going to do spears, because I'm like, hey, we could do spears and RBGs and win. We'll just do RBGs. So
okay, that makes good
We're
sense.
just going to have rubber band guns for those.
For you. Is this 2 minutes again with a break between?
You know it. We like to stop for water. So
hey,
we don't have to kill each other. We get the heat of the day, so we get the heat of the day to fight in.
Yeah.
So we like breaks.
Well, to tell you the truth, I think it's safer in the long run as well. To tell you, when people get a break,
and we get the totally closed masks.
Recover.
So
yep, harder to breathe.
Heat of the day, totally closed masks. We like to take a little bit of a break there.
I've got a quick question about the RBGs. So there are RBGs in the east and there are RBGs in the mid. But since we're at Pennsic, will they be called GBGs? Gum band guns? No? Anybody knows?
No.
Nobody has a wife from Pittsburgh. They call them gum bands in Pittsburgh.
Okay. No.
He tried. Give him a point for trying.
Those of you who are watching and unaware, RBG is a rubber band gun, right? And it represents or looks like a flintlock or something, a pistol, and it fires a rubber band, an elastic band for Canadians.
It's normally made out of surgical tubing.
Do you have a limit on the number of elastic bands you can shoot? Is it just how many you can carry, or is it?
So it's the rules here. You can carry two loaded RBGs into the field with you, and then once you have shot those, then if you want to shoot again, you would have to leave the field and reload. So you are limited to 2 loaded RBGs.
You can't reload.
You cannot reload on the field. Nope.
Okay, cool.
All right. So
you can only reload at res.
No, that makes sense. Otherwise, you end up into the 17th century with gun lines and reloaders, and it all goes bad from there. We all know it. That's why we play this game.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's after Lover Shot. So.
If I don't have an RBG gun, can I pick up a rubber band and do the thing with the thumb and fire it back?
No, you can't glean.
Yeah.
Only with a
only off the field to people that aren't armored, and only you, Barry.
Yes, Barry, we'll find you.
Yeah, I'd be really impressed if somebody could grab clamshell gauntlets and with one of those rubber bands. I'm looking at the comments here. Apparently, no one from Pittsburgh is watching right now, so because they would have laughed. No Yinzers on here. All right, so it's back to me. Wednesday, 3:00, combat, archery, and siege battles. And I will be completely honest. I don't know anything about this. I never did. Wednesday's my day.
I think, Louis, didn't you go off? It was like a shield for one of these?
Not last year.
Okay.
And rules are a little different this year. For you can have one shield per 2 archers.
Oh,
The shield size is limited to 30-inch diameter. So small shields, no warboards.
small shields. Yeah, no more warboards. Wow.
Right. And I'm just kind of glancing at the rules here. There's 3 battle scenarios. The first one is siege only. And on that first scenario, there's 2 targets in front of the castle. There's a 5x5 target, 3 points. And then there's a 3x3 target worth 5 points for each strike. Each engine gets 3 shots at the wall targets, and they total the scores. There's a third target inside the castle, which is a 9x9 square on the ground, and 5 points for getting it in the box. You'll get 3 shots at that target as well.
And then one side does it, and then the other side does it. Is that the idea?
I believe that's how that runs.
Okay. That's how it kind of did it last year.
We have a question with that. So to hold the shield to defend is just the heavy authorization. Nothing else is needed. I believe that's correct, right, Louis?
I'm not sure about the rules on that because I believe this is correct.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously you have to be in armor. You have to be all of those things. So. All right. I think there's a second battle that day, and I'm gonna warn everybody that my computer's starting to freak out with these graphics. So let me switch to the next one.
So the second battle that's coming up is combined CA and Siege, and it's a 30-minute res battle. And in the last 5 minutes, they're going to close the res point. And
so they got go pass here too. Look at
that. We did that on the bridges last year where we closed the res point partway through.
What are we looking at?
So the circle in the middle with the arrow. What is that? That's what I'm not quite 100% sure.
Any one of our audience members, if you know what the circle in the middle with the arrow is, please let us know.
Of the field, it might be this. In the center of the field, no, this can't. Oh, yes, it is. Yes. In the center of the field is a bale of hay with a flip stick with a 25-foot circle painted around it. No shields may pass into this area. So that's a no shield area. So you can get so combat archers, it's exclusively a combination of combat archery and siege in there with no shields. So be fast, run in, flip banner, and go like heck.
Flip banner and go back. And to make sure everybody understands, you're a shield person. You're not a sword and shield person. You're not a weapon and shield. You can have a sword, but you can't swing it.
Yeah,
you're not there to kill people.
Sounds like the 80s back when people used to walk out with just 2-handed shields.
Yeah, we got those. We had to change a bunch of ours back then.
Giant warboards.
They're very convenient when they're 4 foot big with rollers on the bottom too.
By the way, these are not jokes for anyone listening who wasn't around back then.
No, there are rules now.
Yeah. In the hay bales that are shown there, there's no shooting over the hay bales.
Okay. So it creates that lane down the center.
Right. You can go and shoot between. You can go around the sides.
Yeah,
so I'm going to guess that these goat paths, you can literally go down one of these goat paths to get around the back.
Yeah.
So that'd be interesting.
Well, the siege engines will be on the goat paths.
So the siege engines are firing in then. Okay. That's what those goat paths are for. Then. Gotcha.
And then the combat archers are in the readouts.
Gotcha.
The combat archers are in the readouts, and the siege engines are firing from the goat paths.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Thank you. All right. Ready, Barry?
On to Thursday. All right.
One more battle on Wednesday.
Oh,
CA
go for it.
only 30-minute res battle. So no siege.
Oh, battle 3, right? Battle 3.
Right.
So wait,
And
so
it's
the
the
3
same
battles
setup.
going to run consecutively, right? So the first battle starts at 3 p.m. and then they just basically run consecutively, right? So the third battle will be after the second battle.
Right.
Okay.
And the third one's almost the same as the second one. It's just pulling the siege off the field.
Okay, so they just close the go pass and
Yeah.
you got it. All right. Are we, obviously there's a lot of other people hydrating or maybe dehydrating on Wednesday while they're not fighting. And then we lead to Thursday, right?
Yeah. Well, hey, how about before we talked about this last year, before Thursday? Again, if you've never been to Pennsic before, Wednesday night, unless they changed it this year, is Midnight Madness, which means Pennsic has an enormous market area. I mean, I don't think any other event comes even close to the size of the Pennsic market area. And so sometimes it's hard to get to the Pennsic market area during the day because there's so many battles going on. There's so many different things that people are involved in. And it's also hot. Sometimes it's not as pleasant. But yeah, Wednesday night is Midnight Madness. And I think it's just a nice thing to just see. It's like everything's lit up. You kind of, all the anachronisms sort of get blurred in the darkness.
They do.
People tend to bring out their best garb.
And there's jugglers and there's entertainers.
There's jugglers, there's like musicians. There's usually like over by the food court, there's like a little belly dancing pavilion. A band in our household usually plays up their Dragon Song. They'll play some. It's just a nice experience, and it's usually pretty cool by that point, or not as hot. You just get to walk around and do some shopping. Their sales and stuff. So yeah, if you've never been to Pennsic, definitely try to hit Midnight Madness. All right, and then on to Thursday. And the 11 a.m. start means if you're an armored fighter, you get to sleep in just a little bit longer. And it's the Armored Woods battle, and I think we got a graphic for that. This is
pulling it up now.
We've had the Woods battle forever, and this is a 90-minute on unlimited resurrection battle in the woods. And as soon as this graphic comes up, it's basically a capture the flag, or rather a control point. You're not moving well, actually, you do move one of the flags, I think. But there's time checks at 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and 90 minutes, plus or minus 5 minutes, meaning that you don't know, like someone's going to determine when they're going to make that time check. It could be at 25 minutes. It could be at 35 minutes. You don't know. So they keep that a secret, and they basically decide who scored the point. Whoever has that flag, it's probably controlled. I'm not sure if it's a flip stick. It's usually just controlling the banner. And
you have 2 mobile banners.
Yes.
In the red squares, those are mobile banners. And then the center is a static banner.
When they say those are mobile, how far can you move them? Do you have to keep them in that zone?
Yeah.
You have to keep them in that zone.
Okay.
Yep.
You have to keep them in that zone, but they are mobile banners.
Whoa.
An important point to notice with the static banner, for those of us who are old, we have to remember now that combat archery, they had it last year too, is permitted within a 60-foot radius of that center banner. So keep your eyes peeled in the woods now, because we do have combat archery available or there's going to be combat archery within a 60-foot radius of that static banner. So that's new.
Right.
Yep.
Last year we had the CA was on the right-hand side of this map down a lane. And this year they're actually going up next week and trying to clean up the woods so there's not so much brush underfoot.
So it's easier to find arrows, so they don't get lost.
Easier to find arrows, yeah. There is definitely bushes. They're all marked out there kind of on the left, between the center banner and the left banner there. It gets a little bit thick in there.
Yeah, right before the road. So
last year they were pretty successful there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we had nobody lost arrows in the woods last year.
Wow, that's impressive.
Right.
That is very impressive.
I think that's what Runa was saying.
Yeah, and if you've been to Golf Wars, this is a much bigger woods than Golf Wars. It's a fun battle though. And yeah, again, it's a static banner in the middle, and then there's 2 mobile banners. And as they pointed out there, that you have to stay within that box. I'm sure there's probably going to be something painted on the ground, so you know where that box is. And I think the tactic's going to be pretty obvious that if you grab the flag in that box, you're going to probably move it to either some sort of defensible position or probably a position closer to your res point or further away from the res point, for both sides. So that's it in a nutshell. And we can go on to the Rapier Woods battle at 2 p.m.
Pretty much the same woods though, right? Or is this a little bit? Let me pull that one up.
It should be the same woods.
Yeah, there's a different diagram on it because they have different rules about like static banners versus mobile banners and spears and stuff like that. You have like a spear zone instead of an archery zone.
Yeah, there is no mobile banners for Rapier.
Right.
All right. Looks like
You
I
just
didn't
have
get
the
the
flip
Rapier
stick.
woods. I apologize.
And there are spears for there's fencing spears available in the woods. I have a question for you. I'm reading the manual, and
Okay.
there's something here I don't know what it is. They talk about the banner, and the banner will be in a tube. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
And then they say not applicable to tubes, and I don't know. It says not applicable to Rapier flip tubes. Like, is it just?
That was in reference to the flags. That was
okay.
because originally it was talking about the mobile banners will be using the flip stick. So
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then this blue
we're not
over here
using-
is the spear area, right?
Spear zone. Yeah.
Yes, that is the spear zone. It's the same spear zone as last year. For those of you who were there.
And this is an hour long again with 30 and 30.
No, it's just 60-minute unlimited res
Oh, okay.
because it's the woods and you can take breaks
Gotcha.
Yeah.
and you're not in the sun and
And then the time checks here, 20, 40, 60 minutes plus minus 3 minute window.
yes.
Okay.
All right.
And to remind our viewers, is there limitation on shield sizes for Rapier?
Oh, yes, it's whatever they agreed to in the original war rules, which I do not have in front of me, but it's the normal war rules. It's not anything their majesties agreed upon. It's what the marshals agreed upon.
Right. That should be in the other. So there's actually this year there's 2 books. There's the War Points book, 32 pages, and then there's the Martial Activities Pennsic book. No, sorry, the Pennsic book. Yes, is 117 page.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And I don't have that one.
for people going to Pennsic, my suggestion is you have to remember that these are the Pennsic rules. They're not the East rules. They're not the middle rules. They're not your rules. They are the Pennsic rules. Please read the book. Make sure you understand the rules. For those from out west, sides, top of the head aren't spear zones. So those are not kills by spears. There is no killing on the ground. There is no killing from behind. So these are the kind of things you have to know that's happening. And that same thing goes when you travel to foreign wars. You should really read the book if you're not from there to make sure you understand what those rules are. If you run across something that you don't understand, you should clarify it with a marshal or somebody that does.
Yeah. Hey, I'd like to add to that, especially for heavy, is that calibration changes from region to region. And so Pennsic is, for example, Pennsic I know is going to be a higher calibration than Golf Wars is. I don't think it's egregious, but just be aware of that. And it might take, if you're from out of the area, it might take a while to sort of understand exactly about how hard people are going to expect to get hit. I've ran into that problem at Golf Wars. Somebody tagged me in the chest very cleanly, and I said it was light, and he looked like he had a problem with it. And I asked him if he would normally expect me to take it, and he kind of waved me off. And then that was sort of my cue that, like, maybe they're hitting a lot lighter here. So then it was a res battle, so I took it and went back. And so those are just things to be aware of too. The main thing is, don't initially assume that people are just cheating because they're all bad people.
I agree.
Yeah, like face thrust, positive force, but that doesn't mean anything that it doesn't mean that shots are going to be light coming on a face thrust. If it touches your face, it should be good, which also means we don't have to jack people in the face either.
Right. And there was a question basically asking if this is all agreed on in the book. It should be in the Pennsic book. Rules of Pennsic are usually always announced there in the book. So you can find what you need there. Also brought up sides and top of the head by CA are also not kills. So please be aware of that. All right, Bari, let's talk about the last day where everybody's sad because it's the last day.
Okay. I'll brush real quick. There are two, I don't think we need to talk about them, but there are two alternate battles on Thursday if the woods are not suitable for fighting. And it could be not suitable for armored or rapier, or it could be both. And there's an additional, I just want to point people to this, that there's 2 times for rapier. Actually, let me do this real quick. So woods battle alternate will start at noon. So if there's a woods battle, it starts at 11. If they decide there's going to be an alternate battle, it's going to be on the main battlefield. That'll be at noon. And for rapier, if the woods is canceled for both scenarios, then the rapier starts at 10. But if it's only canceled for rapier, then it'll be for 2 p.m. You have to memorize it. Just read the book and realize that there could be an alternate battle. We've had them.
Yeah, the idea is if it's raining or something like that and you hear it's canceled, there is an alternate battle that can be done on the field, and then look up what you need to look up. So
yeah, it could be raining. It could be too much deadfall, too many dead trees, not safe, ruts from from 4-wheelers or something like that. There could be a lot of reasons. I know for woods, I don't think we've had an alternate woods since like 2015. I know we had one in 2015.
Yeah.
We
ran past battles after that.
Yeah, we had the world's shortest unlimited res battle. I think it lasted like 27 minutes because it was so hot that day, and they just had to cancel it.
Yeah.
So yes, Friday. Everyone's sad because it's the last day. Field battles. Some years they have field battles on Monday because it's a great kickoff to the war. Because the field battles are typically the most exciting. They're not necessarily the best for people. They're the best for the spectators, I think. They're usually pretty good for the spectators. And some years they have it to like really kick off Pennsic, and some years they'll have them on Friday to try to keep people, more people around to fight the last battle. This one is 5 field battles. All the field battles are single death. Red lines up on one side, blue lines up on the other side. They call lay on. It takes about 45 seconds to get across the field. And there's some sort of mash with people crossing behind and all sorts of crazy stuff happens. And this one, and I didn't read through all of these, but I think each one starts off with a different kind of like duel or something. And somebody help me out there.
2 and 4 start with the cannon, absolutely standard. Cannon goes off, people run onto the field. Battle 1 is started with 5-on-5. The king and really it's the kings and a bunch of allies. When one side is all dead, the battle begins. And then battle 2, as I say, is the cannon. Battle 3 is the armored general and 2 lieutenants. And
hold on, real quick. So battle 1. So the key is whichever side wins. So the 5-on-5, whichever side wins gets to start 10 seconds before the other side does, which gives them a little bit of like a movement advantage or something like that. So that I've never seen that before. That'll be neat. Sorry, Bess, go ahead. Continue.
That's okay. And then battle 3 is again it's 3-on-3, the armored general and 2 lieutenants. And then when one side is all dead, the battle begins. But again, the victorious side has a 10-minute or 10-second head start. A 10-second head start. Battle 4 is the cannon. And I do want to add that in battles 2 and 4, siege and combat archery are allowed.
Oh.
And then battle 5 is started with a 1-on-1 unbelted team captain's fight. And then again, the winner gets a 10-second head start. This is no resurrection for the duration of the battles, but you could, once you're dead, you can join the next battle. There are 5 standalone battles, so to speak.
Which, by the way, if you're new to Pennsic, oh boy, you have no idea what it was like back in the 90s. They were one-off. You go out there, you get hit one battle.
That was it. Like 30 seconds. That's it. There's my.
Oh, wait a second. It wasn't 30 seconds. Bess, where you were around, those battles would last an hour. It'd be 30 seconds of fighting and
okay, yes,
and the rest being in hold. But
it's true.
Yeah, bridge battles and town battles and stuff like that. Sometimes there would be like an hour of neither side engaging.
Yeah, they just out to last 5 minutes or something.
We were a much more patient generation.
Yeah, I guess, or we just weren't smart enough to think up these good ideas.
I don't know, Barry. I can remember. I can remember
right.
bridge battles.
How about the fencing one then?
Well, real quick, I want to clarify on this one for both of them because this is a question that so many people had. The title is Heroes Armored Field Battles and Heroes Rapier Field Battles. Everyone is allowed to fight them. The word of heroes, I think, describes like that little sort of intro, like heroic battle, but everyone's allowed to fight them. It's not like on Sunday when it's just like specific, like, matchups and stuff. Everyone's allowed to fight these battles, provided that you got your authorization, all that kind of stuff. So, sorry.
I think it was that everybody who shows up on Friday and stays is a hero, and that's why those battles are that way.
I like it. I give it the big white thumb.
All right, we're gonna throw this at your grace. Here we go. How about those rapier field battles?
All right, so there are 5 rapier field battles, and the first one starts with 3 versus 3 combat with the kings, the principal kings, and 2 allied sitting royals, and so they're going to go out and start the battles until one side is eliminated, and then we do a 5-second advance for the winning team. So we'll sit on the sidelines for 5 seconds. And then the second and fourth battles are just regular battles, but they to the last person standing, and that is including spears. So we'll include
over
spears.
The whole battle.
Yes, over the whole battle. But if you don't want to fight with spears, you don't have to fight. So there you go. And then the third battle is each team. There are 2 teams going out again to start the battle with the Rapier General and 2 lieutenants fighting the Rapier General and 2 lieutenants from the east and mid. And then whoever wins that one gets a 5-second advance for that battle. And then battle 4 is, again, spears. And battle 5 is 1v1 with the 2 newest mods of each kingdom going out to face off.
Oh, nice.
So I got to ask, who are mid-row?
The newest mod in the mid-realm is currently Michelangelo.
Okay.
Michelangelo is the current newest MOD. So
very cool. Now I had to probably change it.
I don't know.
Pennsic is a long time. Lots of wars.
It's Pennsic. Who knows?
That's right.
And then the battle will commence at the defeat of one or both mods. Yeah. So if that's true, so if it's a double, do both sides just advance at the same time?
Oh, they didn't specify.
Oh,
Great.
Ooh, good question.
The thing I find interesting though is that the Kings, it's such a different age where the Kings are out there fighting Rapier, right? And starting this as well.
I was joking with our Royals, and I'm like, so if our Royals are dead, why are we fighting again?
Yeah, maybe they should have saved that for last.
You raised
I'm like, it's like, well, you're fighting for the Queen, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can agree with that one. And yet,
when you say it like that, you raise a valid point.
All right.
I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure we just had a mod made last weekend, so maybe that'll be the newest for the East.
okay.
Yep. I'm not sure what it is. I just looked up our order precedents. I couldn't find the name, and I was in Maine for that event, and I skipped. I had a wife waiting in a hotel.
I should know.
Yeah.
I should know because I get notifications.
Yeah, I cut out before court. I was my wife was in a hotel. It was part of we did a New England vacation. She actually suggested it. She's like, let's do a New England vacation and pick an event you've never been to up there, and you can go do it for a day.
Very cool. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much our episode of what's happening coming up at Pennsic. Thanks for folks coming. We're not done for a sec. Let me just finish up here a little bit. But, again, look at the book, go through it, make sure that, you know what's going on. Go have fun. That's the biggest part of Pennsic, and try to have fun with everybody on the field with you. This is what we get to do all together. I have one more graphic I'm going to show, and that is kind of when we usually announce the next week's show or episode. In this case, next episode will be at Pennsic. So we have Tuesday through Friday on the pickup fields reserved for Coach's Corner, kind of like I announced earlier. We did this last year, and we're going to do pretty much the same thing as far as broadcasting the field. So if you're sitting around Pennsic, you want to know people's up there, come take a look at our channel and you can find out. That way, if you're walking uphill, there's going to be somebody there to fight. It is from 1 till 4 o'clock, but pickup goes longer than that, and we're probably going to have some classes a little bit before that. We're going to include at least a stretching class for stretching prior to fighting, and then a post stretching class or a mid stretching class, like after a long day. Here's the exercises you could do to keep moving on or keep fighting or even just cool down. Sir Boomy is going to be doing those, and let me give you a sneak peek. This may change a little bit. We will be posting it up probably by this weekend, but here's a sneak peek at our class schedule. We're going to be doing like ladder drills, movement drills. We're going to hopefully have a great sword class. We have
Brannos is glitching.
we're going to do a class. We're going to do a tension class. Donegal is this actually, and we got. So some of the coaches out there are going to be Sir Saib, Earl Louis, myself, Duke Donegal, His Majesty of the West. Dorfin is possibly going to be in the second week. We may kind of sneak a class out there just so everybody knows. We're going to try to shoot as many of these classes as possible and offer them on the SCA Coaches Corner too, kind of live. We're going to probably have a couple of classes that we're going to shoot a little more professionally and try to post those up a little nicer for everybody in the future, probably one each day. We have some people trying to kind of upgrade how we do these things. So, but we're looking forward to actually, last year was like, hey, let's just do this and talk and have a couple of sessions. We did a lot of little classes. Coaches were out there helping individuals quite a bit. That is still the plan. We're going to still try to do that. Not all of us will be there, but quite a few of us will be there. And then we're talking about the last like Friday, probably doing kind of just a coach's corner roundup where it's everybody who wants to come. We did it a few years ago, and it was pretty successful. Just come and talk and meet each other, and come ask if you have questions or want to talk to some of the coaches that are there. We're gonna go there, and we'll see if we're gonna do it up on the pickup field, or we may move it to somebody's camp, and that way we can just sit around and have a couple cocktails and chat. So, but this is what we're looking forward to. It's a little more organized for the first week. We'll see how it goes. We're going to do our best. Again, all volunteers here, but we're trying. So, what do you think, everyone?
Say thanks for joining. That's for sure.
That's good.
That looked good. Hey, Barry, I didn't see your class on there for Spear.
I didn't put one on there, but if I have a moment, is there still time to add
put
stuff?
a class on there? We can absolutely do that, buddy.
All right.
On the spot, Batman.
But hopefully Pennsic's fun. I'm looking forward. I know last year there was a lot of good words about Coach's Corner up there, and the help and the training and working on teaching things. Hopefully adding some more structure to it will give a reason for people to come up to the field and a reason for people to come to Pennsic the first week to get some training and coaching and maybe learn, some coaching stuff too. So hopefully everybody gets a chance to go. If you don't, again, we'll be sharing, and we look forward to seeing you at Pennsic or after.
Yeah. Please say hi if you see me. I'd like to just get to know you more than just a name on the screen. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks again to everybody for joining us tonight.
He's glitching again.
Just a little.
He's an Android.
Everyone else, have a wonderful night and enjoy yourselves, and stay safe. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.